Nicole Garcia here and welcome to Billy Jeans. Moving on to the topic, today we will be talking about the DNA of Spider-Man. Did you know that because of a recent genetic breakthrough, cobwebs are now valuable? Maybe not for you, but for scientists they are. And new tech is coming. Presenting Mr. Sacdalan to tell you more about DNA and cobwebs.
Thank you, Nicole. Last November 2015, a study has been published regarding the discovery of DNA in spiderwebs. Lead author Charles C.Y. Su, a graduate student in meme, not that kind of meme, claims the DNA of both spider and its last unfortunate prey can be found in the webs. But how do you traditionally collect spiders? Genetic expert Ms. Ponce is here to answer your questions.
There are a lot of different ways on how to collect spiders. One of these methods involves beating, where we literally beat the trees and wait for the spiders to fall off.
But how did Su and his team study the DNA and extract it from the cobwebs?
They studied the webs of 3 southern black widow spiders and kept them in separate enclosures. 2 crickets were fed to each of them and were also given a few days to create cobwebs.
After removing the cobwebs from the enclosures, they brought it to the laboratory for further study. Su said in order to study DNA, they first must make a lot of it. A lot of it. They use primers to amplify the DNA.
Primers are single-strand DNA fragments that target a particular part of the DNA we want to study. They can amplify DNA or cause it makes millions of copies of itself.
The team chose to amplify a mitochondrial gene called cytochrome oxidase. This can be used to identify genes in DNA barcoding.
DNA barcoding is basically a way of identifying specific species through a system similar to the barcodes you see in the supermarket. It uses a very short genetic sequence from a standard part of a genome.
Although Su and his team had it easy because they already knew which DNA they would be looking for, the black widows and the crickets. This allowed them to create primers which amplify the right kind of genes, the mitochondrial genes.
They decided to devise some more advanced technique in DNA sequencing, known as the next generation meta-barcoding sequencing.
But what is next generation meta-barcoding sequencing?
Meta-barcoding sequencing allows a researcher to just walk in the forest, collect cobwebs, and sequence a web's DNA in the laboratory without knowing what kind of DNA is in the web. It can be very useful in providing detailed insights into the kinds of spiders and insects that reside in one particular area.
DNA can remain in the cobwebs for a long period of time. Based on the study, the longest time is 88 days. Su said that he would spend some time in the forest and collect cobwebs, then try to find out which kind of spiders left their silk behind. Every discovery has its own advantages and disadvantages, but is this method really efficient? Let's call in Miss Guiriba to explain.
Meta-barcoding brings no harm to any species. This means no chasing, killing, and catching. This can also save some time because catching spiders is more time-consuming than just collecting some cobwebs. It is safer, easier, and more convenient because there is no possibility of any spiders harming people. It also saves up energy. Biogeography researchers could use it to understand the population differentiation within a single species. With this, we can learn a lot more about our ecosystem.
Many of these advantages truly help society today, but to everything, there's a downside.
Meta-barcoding takes up a lot of time. Even though it takes a short time to collect the cobwebs, it takes a triple amount of time to perform the experiment. This project might also cost a lot of money for the researchers. But the information we get from this method is worth it all. Some data or genetic codes never found before can be found using this method.
This new discovery is pivotal in many ways like ecology, conservation, and pest management. It is amazing how technology can bring us new data we could use for the improvement and conservation of the environment.
Do you think this method is efficient for our society, Nicole?
Why yes, Rafael! Now I won't have spiders in my basement. That's it for today, folks. See you next week for another episode of Billy Jeans.